So, this is Ella Kirk. Ella Mary Kirk. What do you go by?
Oh, Ella Kirk.
Ella Kirk.
Yeah.
In your
I'm Ella Kirk.
All right. So tell me, Mom, start from the beginning.
Well, I was born in San Francisco. My mother and dad, I think at the time, lived in Cloverdale. But she came to San Francisco because her mother lived there. And I was born on, I forget the name of the little street off of Guerrero. Anyway. And then when I was about 5 years old, we lived in Fresno after that.
You moved to Fresno when you were 5? Mm-hmm. You moved to Fresno?
Yeah, we moved. I don't remember where we moved from Cloverdale probably to Fresno because my brother, who is 4 years younger than I, Bob, was born in Fresno.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Okay, and then so Bob was born there. It was wartime, 1918, and we stayed in Fresno until I was about maybe. I wasn't in school yet, but I got what they called valley fever, which is whatever it was. So they said I had to move to a different climate. It was too hot there.
Uh-huh.
And so my dad had this Bill Mack, his friend who lived in San Francisco, and my dad got himself a job there in San Francisco. So we moved from Fresno to San Francisco. Uh-huh. And I was very ill at the time or something. But I survived. I survived.
So this must have been 1919?
That would be about 19, let me think now, 5 and 4, 9, 1919.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And we lived in a little, Bill Mack lived in a little court that was called Kaiser Court. It ran off of Guerrero Street between 16th and Camp Street, little court. And we lived there for maybe a year because my mother found a place around the corner down on Albion Street where we moved. It was a flat, 158 Albion. Uh-huh. And there we stayed. We stayed there until I was married and left. Stayed in Albion Street. And I went to school down in below Mission. I can't remember the name of the school right off the top of my head.
Like Washington, or was it?
Hmm?
Washington?
Washington?
Hmm?
It wasn't Washington School.
No. It was below Mission by Cap Street. That's where it was. Anyway, my brother Bill was there, and then of course Bob was still a little guy. He didn't go to school yet. And then we went from that school to 7th and 8th grade on Mission Street. It was called Mission Grammar, right between 15th and 16th. And then when I went to high school, I had a choice of going to Mission High School or Girls High, which was a public school only for girls. And it was a very, what do you call it? It was a good school.
Was it? Uh-huh.
So I decided to go there. I didn't want to go to Mission because Mission was kind of a tough school. Mm-hmm. So I went there. And I take the number, I forget now, 22 streetcar on 16th Street and went over to Fillmore then I'd walk up to Geary, and that's where the school was. And I went 4 years there. And we lived on Albion all that time. I took piano lessons when I was about 8 years old, I think it was. My mother, I wanted to take piano lessons. Miss Kelly used to come, and she'd come up the stairs and come in, and she'd sit there, and she'd put a pencil on my hand to just make my fingers go.
Sure.
And she didn't teach me anything about chords or anything like that. I just played anyway. And so I took piano lessons, and I remember we had she had recitals, and we had it at the big hotel.
Fairmont Hotel.
Fairmont Hotel.
Fairmont,
It was up in the Fairmont Hotel in the Golden Ballroom.
Wow.
And my mother made me this beautiful dress, I thought it was. It was made out of chiffon and had lace on it and all that sort of thing. Anyway, and they had a big piano on the stage, and people came, our friends, my mother's friends came, and I had to play the I forget that place had a lot of. Anyway, I played that piece, and I had to learn that practically by heart, and then I had to get up and bow, and they had flowers for me. They gave me a basket of baby roses, I remember, so that was my piano stuff.
So
then
that was about
finally,
you were 8 years old and on?
I was over 8. I was
Over
8, 9,
yeah.
10. I wanted to give up piano. I was too busy with stuff. So anyway, I finally gave up piano. So then after I graduated from high school, I had 2 friends. June Smith was my very best friend, and she lived down on Shotwell, and she used to take the streetcar with me to go over to high school. And then we met Olita Selda there, and we 3 became very good friends. And so then when I was very interested in art at the time. I used to take my dad's shirt. He was a laundryman, and he did shirts. They had cardboard insertions, and I used to take those cardboards and then make all kinds of paintings on them when I was much younger. Because I remember one of my paintings I called Sunrise at Dawn. Sunset at Dawn. Anyway, that was the type of art I did. And then there was one person in the Chronicle and I can't remember who it was, but I loved the way that person drew people. So I'd copy that, I'd draw those things, and things like that. And so then when I was in high school, I was the art editor of the journal. They had a journal twice a year, for the people graduated in June and January. And I introduced color pictures, which was a big innovation, and so on. So then when it got to graduate from high school, my English teachers insisted that I go to college, and I never thought of going to college. But she thought I should go. So my friend June and Olita decided to go too, and we had another friend, Gina Lana, a little Italian girl, and she went with anyway, we had to go to Berkeley. We had to go to Berkeley, to University of California at Berkeley. And we'd have to go take a streetcar to the ferry building, then take a ferry over to the mall, then take a train over to a streetcar, then take the streetcar to the university. So as we went there, we'd do our homework or whatever we had to do on the first year. We did that. We commuted. And then we all decided it'd be better to live over here. We could just, because things weren't as expensive as they are now. It costs us $25 to go there, to go to Cal.
Is that right?
And maybe they added $1 that would give you insurance. You could go to the hospital, things like that. So after that, then June dropped out because she got pregnant, then got married and had a baby, Nina.
In that order?
Yeah. But then the rest of us went. So anyway, so we went 4 years, and on the third year, I met Don, my future husband. And we met at a dance. The college gave a dance once a month, I guess, or whatever it was, for 10 cents, and your card.
Student
what do you
card,
call it? Your
student ID card.
Your
Student ID
student
card.
body card. You go to the dance. So Oleta and Gina and I would go to the dance, the three of us, and then we met Don and Walt Gotland. And we danced, and I remember walking home. They walked us home. Gina found her own. She was a little Italian girl. She knew all these. She probably knew Walt Bava because he was there at the time, but we didn't. But she had her own ways. But Oleta and I would do these other things. So Don and Walt walked us back to our apartment, and it turned out they became friends of ours. And Don worked up at the Bowles Hall, which was the only dormitory for men at the time. And he used to come by and leave us things he'd take from the kitchen, like things that were made with yeast, and they'd rise, and then you'd put, there'd be nice things to eat. Danish things. Anyway, and so we eventually graduated from college. I was an art major, of course, and Oleta was an art major. Gina was an Italian major. That's what she did. And Gina used to sing. She liked opera. She loved opera. And she'd go in the closet and she'd go her up and down the scales and all that. But anyway, the three of us all graduated. And I didn't have any. I went to a art school, commercial art class up on Geary Street. It was called Livingston's, I remember. And I learned to do art ads, but nothing ever came of it. And I worked for my dad. I used to keep, on Mason Street, he had one of his laundry outlets, and I'd be giving out the bundles and take the money in and that sort of thing. And and Don and I we got to know each other in and out and so on, and finally we decided to get married. I think I had to ask him. And
no, it was pretty mutual thing.
And we got married, and we lived in Berkeley. First of all, we stayed with Stan Delaplane, because Don roomed with him. So we were married. We stayed with him until we went over to Berkeley. We thought we had to live in Berkeley, so we rented a place for, I remember it was $15 a month, and it was in a little court off of Grove. I think the BART is there now, and they tore it all down. And we lived in this little apartment. It had it had a court. You go in, and it was very nice. It had trees and anyway, shall I go on? That's more than you expect.
No, that's good. Yeah, go on. Well, let's take a little break. That's
Yeah.
good. Okay.